Welcome to Talking Giants, presented by SeatGeek. I'm your host, Bobby Skinner, here with my co-host, Justin Pennick, and we've got a lot to recap. We've been at the last 2 days of Giants-Lions joint practices. We have Dan Duggan in the van with a great interview. We're going to do our, players to watch for in the preseason game coming up in a couple days. Justin, how are you? Because I'm still buzzing off of these Giants-Lions practices.
Bobby Skinner, the New York Giants play football. New York football Giants play football tomorrow by the time that you're listening to this. And man, I've been coming to practices since 2016. There have been other reporters that have been here for longer. Duggan has also been on the beat since 2016. Bobby Skinner, the last 2 days of New York Giants practice have been the most intense practices that I've ever seen this team put on. And just from a fan standpoint, man, we love football. I love the game of football. It was a reminder of why I love it. Competitive football, competition, they're hitting hard, they're out there grinding their ass off, it's gritty. That's why we love football, man. And not only did we see the Giants do it against any football team, they did it against a pretty damn good football team in the Detroit Lions that punched them in the mouth when they went to Detroit last year, and we were also there, which is probably the icing on top of this all, is that the Giants showed grit, they showed fight, and they showed that they could be on the same practice field against the team last year that really did kick their teeth in.
Yeah, and just even overall, we've been to 11 practices now, the same exact as last year, and it has not looked as clean as last year, right? Where last year's like, man, this all looks clean. But we saw how the season went last year, right? With just chaos from the first drive of the season and getting their asses kicked early on. Not scoring a single point for 6 quarters of to start the season, that Brian Daboll has made real adjustments in certain areas of his coaching, but one of those being that we asked for, right? When we did our training camp mailbag, 3 weeks ago, going into the start of it, where it's like, there needs to be more team zeros. There needs to be like less 7-on-7 physicality. Like they need to go at it. They need to run the ball more and just have more. And you've seen it, right? You saw it in the 9 practices, and then like you mentioned, there was just a stark contrast between last year's Giants Lions sessions and this year's, where they were bringing the fight and just play wise and literally. I mean, there were like 11 fights, which yeah. I personally love. I understand that they don't really make you better as a team. I do think they actually help.
I think it brings them closer together.
I do actually think it helps in some ways, and it keeps the energy up.
I think it's better when you're fighting other teams, when you're fighting yourself, which they haven't fought each other. But I think like having Daniel Jones go in there and the second fight of the first day, having Daniel Jones go in there and standing up for himself, but then also standing up for
Greg Van Roten,
his offensive line, center Greg Van Roten. Greg Van Roten, by the way. Like, I love to see the process of Brian Burns learning that Daniel Jones was the one who started that fight. And he's like, yeah, you probably shouldn't be doing that, but kind of love it. He said, yeah, Danny's getting jiggy with it, however we said. So it's awesome. I think they're all going to rally around each other from this, and they were mostly real fights too. Like, yeah.
Obviously when you have 11, the majority of them are going to be kind of pushing matches and stuff, but they were actual. I mean, the second play on Monday,
3 legit ones.
The second play on Monday was just legit, like actual fighting. Trey Hawkins took a guy, Khalif Raymond, and just slammed him to the ground out of his helmet. Then a bunch of other guys went and jumped somebody. And then Malik Nabers versus Kirby Joseph and Terran Arnold was the real swinging, which at first I was like, Nabers just started this fight, and then you see a clip of it, and you're like, oh no, Kirby Joseph started.
He shoved. Nabers shoved.
Well, I'm saying like the actual fighting, yeah. Like Kirby Joseph hit Nabers. Like if that was a real fight without a helmet on, like Nabers would have been pieced up pretty well. And then you see Devin Singletary. So, but I personally like fights. I know some people don't. I like them. I like the energy they bring. I like how they get the juices flowing. And I actually think it leads to better practices, unless it turns into just never-ending type of shit.
And listen, I don't think we're sitting here saying, oh my God, the Giants had an awesome 2 practices.
Well, it wasn't the fights that made the practice good.
And that's exactly what I was going to say.
The energy. Like, yes. They were bringing the pop in play.
Yes.
They were making some plays on both sides of the ball. Like, it wasn't just they showed up looking for a fight. They showed up to, play football physically and fast.
And they showed up to fight. Both during the play and then even after the whistle too.
We've talked about this with just some of the results from these joint sessions. Is that something very encouraging? Is that their 2 marquee additions, and Malik Nabers and Brian Burns, were probably the best players on both sides of the ball.
Yes, they were.
like Lions versus Giants, offense versus defense, I think Brian Burns is the best player on the field. You can argue Amon-Ra St. Brown, but I would go Brian Burns. And then Giants offense versus Lions defense, I would argue that Malik Nabers was the best player on the field, even though that those teams are more well-rounded. I mean, Nabers had 8 catches in 11 on 11 in 2 days. Like 8 of the 18 completions from Daniel Jones in 11 on 11 were to Malik Nabers, and he just won so easy. I mean, he was picking on them, and this is probably the third time we've said this line on video, is that we would come on these practice recaps, these practice podcasts, and say, Malik Nabers looks really good, but like we haven't had the Malik Nabers day where he just completely takes over. Yeah. And this was it, right? To have 8 of 18 completions, they did 7 on 7 for the first time, and he dominated that.
Touchdowns.
I mean, he was just a monster out there, right? Where, the other days it was like 2-3 catches for Nabers, Malik, Wandale getting 4 or 5 little short passes. No, this was the Malik Nabers show on offense. And I mean, he's the talk of the league camp-wise right now with the 2 practices he had for against the Lions.
Yeah, and both of those guys, they made it look easy. Like Burns just moves so easy. His hands are so quick. His feet are so quick. Nothing really looks forced. That was really fun to see how he kind of broke out. And he was having a good camp, even challenging Andrew
But he
Thomas
looked better versus the Lions in these 2 days than he did against the Giants.
Which makes you feel better about Andrew Thomas.
But even against Jermaine Elmanor, like he looked much better versus Taylor Decker than he did Jermaine Elmanor. He didn't get a ton of versus Penne. He was mostly on the left tackle. But like, who did better versus Brian Burns, Jermaine Elmanor or Taylor Decker? Jermaine Elmanor did.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. And dude, Nabers is another guy that's just he's making it look easy where, he gets a separation. But even during this Lions camp, I wouldn't say, oh my God, he created all this separation, but he makes catches. The ball's just thrown to him, and it's thrown to him at any spot, and he can go up and he can get it. He can flash those late hands, and there was one play where he could have been ruled down at the 1-yard line, but hey, it's a touchdown. And then the other one where he had a touchdown during Tuesday's practice today, and again, just going up there and getting a football. And Daniel Jones has not had a receiver that, he's had receivers that we thought that they could go do that, but we've never seen it. We've never seen Daniel Jones be able to confidently throw a football where it looks like the receiver's covered, but he will come down with the catch wherever the quarterback kind of puts it. As long as the quarterback puts it in a spot where the defender can't get it, I have trust that Malik Nabers is going to go get it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's the best receiver we've seen covering this team, right? And it doesn't. You don't feel hot takey saying that.
We haven't seen him suit up an NFL game.
Yeah, it's almost boring because it's like we just want to see him playing games.
Yeah,
because
that's when we're going to be in awe. Like I was thinking today, like man, I kind of feel bad that this is going to be our last practice that we're witnessing him here together. I'll be at the Jets practice later in the month. The one day that
him versus Sauce will be a great thing to monitor that day because Sauce is the second best corner after Jalen Johnson.
Yes. But I haven't marveled that Malik Nabers is he's so great and he's just so different. I haven't really sat back and done it, but I think it will happen when he plays. When he gets out there and we see him week 1 against the Vikings, hopefully there will be some moments where we're like, oh dude, this dude's just different. So
we also haven't seen him in an atmosphere where he's allowed to break tackles.
Right.
Because they don't tackle, right? So again, it's the slants. We've seen the main catch he's hit is back shoulders and these 8 to 12 yard curl routes, which is we joked about it with Jason Garrett, but they are a valuable route if you can run them well.
They did it in 2022 really well. Hitches, on the sideline.
And then when you can create the explosive, it creates that types of shit. So it's just really enjoyable to watch them.
Yeah.
You don't even need to analyze them. It's just fun to watch Malik Nabers make plays. And he had his best days against the Detroit Lions, who to me have a better secondary than the Giants. But I also think part of that was this is the first day where we're not trying to install our stuff and run our stuff, or these days. And this is, hey, we want to go beat the shit out of the guys across. We want to win, right? We're not. This isn't about getting this play down and this play. This is about going out there and winning. And I thought the Giants, Malik Nabers did it, right? The Giants' offense wasn't perfect. They ran the ball fairly decent. DJ.
They threw it deep more, which that was one of the things that I wanted to see them do more and kind of get back to, because that was the main talking point of early in camp. When you listen to these shows last week with Jordan and Art, we were talking about how they were throwing the ball down the field. And even Dunleavy touched on a little bit too, but it's kind of gone away a little bit as we were nearing these Giants-Lions joint practices. But then boom, Monday, the first day,
they had 7-on-7 success, and they also had 11-on-11 success, mainly with Malik Nabers.
Yeah, basically only with Malik Nabers and
throwing the ball down the field. Maybe Slayton had
one nice catch like over the middles. But yeah,
it was cool to see them go back to that.
Justin, there's one thing we did forget to talk about, and that is some of our new friends. We got Sean G. Sean is a G. We got Rob Bulldog. I don't think that's his real name, but that's because he's a dog, right? Where like Pat Leonard had this lack of maturity or whatever it was, and then someone quote tweeted with the got that dog in him versus the Rob's the dog. Michael Chorus, not Michael Corleone. Chorus, he's in the chorus. Gabriel, my friend's son. Matt, just regular old Matt. No last name, no nothing. He's in the world. Yeah, I know. I think I may know you, Matt. We got Jack Myers. I think we did Jack Myers already. And but thank you again, Jack.
Thank you. Because you made the simple Jack joke, right?
Yep. And you made the Michael Myers joke.
I did. Michael Myers. Who
are these people, Justin?
They went to patreon.com/TalkingGiants for $2 a month plus some other tiers. You get to hang out with us live while we record the shows, get excited about Giants camp. The most intense, best 2 days of Giants practice that we have ever seen, and probably Bobby Skinner, even 10 years from now. This is the line that I've been telling people. We're going to be talking Giants 10 years from now, and we're going to bring up on a 2035 training camp recap video. Do you remember how awesome the 2024 Giants Lions joint practice was, especially on that first day where they just beat the shit out of each other? I'm serious. That is how much we are going to talk about this. And our ability to talk about stuff that is old and kind of irrelevant. Patreon.com/TalkingGiants. Bobby Skinner will also send you some stickers when he is back in the great state of Florida. And there's some shirt raffles. Thank you to our patrons.
Yeah, new August shirt raffle posts are up, so get your numbers in.
And we also dropped a new shirt. If you like training camp fights, we made a shirt that says "I love training camp."
We also sent the Culture of Violence shirt. We added one person, Malik. I think we sent the Daniel Jones, Andrew Phillips.
We sent it to Trey Hawkins.
Andrew Thomas. Nick McCloud, Andrew Thomas, because he almost concussed Terry Arnold, Nabers, and then Jermaine Eleanor.
Yeah.
When I asked them to do that, they did send it out, but they said just K. They said K just sent those out. Does that mean they didn't like send it? Anyways, Justin, the other
company or the Giants?
The company.
Oh,
Nick McCloud got his first snaps at cornerback too.
Yeah,
which I think is very significant because Cordell Flott. We talked about quarterback 2 on our position battle episode. A little over 2 weeks ago, and it really wasn't a position battle. For 10 practices, Cordell Flott took every single first team snap. And then we get into this practice, and this is a series after Nick McCloud had a really nice pass breakup on Jamison Williams on an in route. And we see Nick McCloud out there, right? And okay, where's Andrew Phillips? Andrew Phillips is in the slot. Nick McCloud is on the outside.
And Cordell Flott is on a knee.
And then now it's okay, let's find Cordell Flott. Is Cordell Flott on the sideline? Is he being attended to? Is he off the field? And he's just on the sideline with all the rest of the defensive players. And I think that this is needed. Again, we've said it over and over. I think cornerback 2 is probably not on the roster. And that doesn't mean we think it's going to be Gilmore or Xavier Howard. I think it's going to be a waiver wire guy or somebody. But Cordell Flott has looked flat out awful. And at some point, that has to matter. I don't know if I feel great about Nick McCloud starting on the outside. But through all the fun that we've had these last 2 days, our biggest worry, which is the secondary, has shown up. They've given up big plays. They've given up busted coverages. And I think something that really worries you about this team for this year by itself is the secondary. And this assumption that Banks is just going to be the shutdown cornerback 1. We got to see that.
Yeah.
So, but I am glad that they are finally just saying, you know what, Flott, this is not just your job. You got to battle for this.
Yeah, Cordell Flott has unfortunately looked like the worst player on the starting unit to start camp so far. And this is 11 practices.
On both sides of the ball.
Yeah, really, I can't point to another player that I think has just flat out looked worse than him on a day in, day out basis. And Nick McCloud, I think, has earned it. I think he's earned a starting spot right now. I think Nick McCloud has been the best defensive back that includes safeties on the team so far. I think he's made stops in the short part of the field. I think he's made pass deflections. I think he showed physicality in the run game. Drew Phillips has been all over the place, but I think McCloud has made more plays.
Phillips has had some mental mistakes.
But he's also made more plays against the pass. McCloud has. So I think McCloud has earned it. I'm with you where my ideal world is The Giants starting cornerback 2 on the outside is not on the roster right now, but he is on another roster. And I would love Nick McCloud to move to this role of he could be the backup outside corner. He can also be the backup slot corner. And then he can also come in and rotate on certain reps and certain packages that Shane Bowen has shown that he does want Andrew Phillips and Nick McCloud on the field at the same time. So I would feel a little bit worse if Nick McCloud actually was just pigeonholed at CB2. And because we desperately need him there, because they just don't feel confident enough that Cordell Flott, that they don't feel confident enough that they can put Cordell Flott out there. So I hope McCloud can be like that. Well,
that's what his that like kind of
versatile piece.
Yeah, that you essentially a utility backup, like a utility player in baseball, which that is his best role. But speaking of baseball, are the weak out ice guys hitting balls with a guitar?
Yeah, it's either a ukulele. It's too big to be a ukulele. They're crazy. I love them so much.
Yeah, I do too. Love those guys. Go check them out. They're an up-and-coming
YouTube channel that only averages.
One of my favorite. I told them this when we did Daytona with them.
Yeah.
When we hired them, I looked at their Twitter and I was like, these guys have like five. What the fuck did we hire these guys? And then on TikTok they have like 10 million followers. Like, oh well.
And they average
that makes sense, old man. You're not on the TikTok.
Yeah, and they only average like 200,000 YouTube views every single week.
Yeah, they didn't even have a YouTube, and now they average.
Yeah. They kill it.
I hate them now.
You know who else kills it?
DraftKings.
Okay.
You should have bet on we got ice having the come up. Bottom of the ninth too. Oh, we're just talking a lot. I did the utility thing. We got ice, and now we got DraftKings. Bottom of the ninth, 2 outs, bases full, down 3. The crowd on their feet. The drama of baseball is real, and so is all the action at DraftKings Sportsbook. From the first pitch to the final out, DraftKings has you covered with same-game parlays, live betting, odds boosts, and so much more. And if you're new to DraftKings, you got to check this out. New customers bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets instantly. DraftKings also has you covered with same-game parlays, live betting, odds boosts, and so much more. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code WORLD. New customers bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets instantly. That's code WORLD only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. For this next part, I listen to other podcasts and they have like an automated person read this. I always want us to read this. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER, or in West Virginia, visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.co/baseball for eligibility, deposit restrictions, terms, and responsibility gaming resources. But God, you did. Robot can't do that shit. All right, and here's Dan Duggan in the van. All right, this may be our last van interview at training camp. We'll see. But we welcome on of the athletic Dan Duggan. So we're here at Giants-Lions joint practices. We've been just talking about fights for like 5 minutes pre-show. What do you think about the energy and the physical? I mean, we were there last year, did this interview, and it was just a different energy. What did you think about this year?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest takeaway. We'll probably get into depth chart and how Nabers looked and all that stuff, but just the energy, that to me mattered more than anything. And, maybe if the Giants were in a different position, or if we didn't just have last year against the Lions where they got completely punched in the mouth on that first day and were like stunned by it, you might be more focused on the football. But I think they had to at least set a baseline, like we're not going to be pushed around. Like I was talking to Jalen Hyatt today, and that's basically what his message was. Like, we knew what happened last year. We didn't have any energy, and we had to come out and meet them there. And obviously, things crossed the lines at times. It's fun for all of us to watch. Coaches didn't really seem to mind too much because if you figure it kept going yesterday, they had a chance to regroup. Daboll and Campbell pre-practice were kind of I didn't love it, but they didn't strongly condemn it.
I asked Lori Young before the practice. First of all, she came up and shook my hand. She was very nice because I've been saying good morning to her during her and you see Jerome Henderson or her. They walk around the field. So I asked her how many fights today. She said 0, so she lied.
Yeah, miscalculation on her part, and she's funny. She's like one of the get back guys out there, trying to step in the fights. But yeah. So today it was good for 3/4 of the practice, and then that last period, obviously with the Nabers fight, and then it just became kind of a mess with the kickoff stuff at the end, and that was that. But no, I think that was important because I don't know how good the Giants are going to be this year, but at least they showed that they have some fight. It just kind of felt like that team last year, obviously it was validated by how the season started.
Well, even week one, I've never seen a team just take so many hits the way they did week one versus Dallas, where it was like a JV team.
Exactly.
Not even for skill, of just physicality.
How long have you been covering the team?
16 was my first year on the beat.
So this was these 2 days. So I have a follow-up question after this. These 2 days were the most intense practices you've ever seen coming out of the Giants, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, hands down. I mean, because even a really intense intra-squad practice can't match a joint practice, but I've done a couple of joint practices. I mean, it's funny. We were thinking back on some of them yesterday. Remember when you had the Sterling Shepard had the fight after?
Yeah, that was great.
Cleveland. But that practice wasn't particularly crazy. So, no, this by far, because, again, the ones in Detroit last year, pretty one-sided that first day. The second day was, it wasn't anything crazy. But, no, these two were just, it was wild.
Well, I don't even think there was a fight last year.
No.
I remember Chauncey Gardner was actively trying to start a fight every single play, and they still just never got to that.
Now, with the follow-up, do you think that is more or less a symptom of, hey, this is Dan Campbell? Like, this is the type of dude that he is. Intense. They're going to bring it every single day, even if the lines are practicing themselves. Or do you even think, because there was, conversations, for those of you that were on that other side of the field for the offense, about Daboll really pushing and emphasizing the Giants to continue throwing the ball down the field. So do you think this is just a symptom of the lines were coming into town and Dan Campbell's lines, or do you think, hey, the Giants actually kind of matched, what the Lions put out every day?
I would say a combination of the two. I mean, I think when you talk to people in Detroit, they practice like that every day. Clearly, it ratcheted up for the Giants, but I think the Lions had a full padded scrimmage on Friday. They definitely do this every day, and I think I saw some of their players kind of even be like, oh, yesterday wasn't that big of a deal. We're here at Giants practice. I don't think there's been any fight or really anything close to a fight. No. And listen, you don't want, it's fun for us for a day, and there was that one a couple years ago. Remember when it was Cam Brown and Feliciano and even Bobby Johnson got involved? That's fun for one day. But it can't. You don't want to. Then you're just not a disciplined team. You're fighting all the time. But the Giants, they had not really even come close to that until yesterday. So no, I think it was clearly a situation where I haven't really had any player explicitly tell me. I have to think Daboll gave a hell of a pre-practice speech because it felt like they were ready. It was the second play on the Giants defense versus the Lions offense. So that clearly there wasn't enough time for anything to build up. They were clearly ready to basically it was like a hockey where you drop the gloves at the face-off. And I think it speaks well a little bit to Daboll's ability to get through to his players. Because I definitely think he was obviously not happy with how things went last year. It's kind of too late to do anything once the practice started. I really believe he set down the law. We're going to come out and we're going to punch these guys in the face. We're not going to be the ones that are going to be getting pushed around. And clearly that message got through.
Honestly, just lack of tackling in training camp leads to this because no one wants to just do a soft little touch, but they don't want to actually tackle. So everything's on the line of dirty, and then it leads into it. But for these practices, offense was very far away from us. I tried to watch it, but you just can't see the detail of it. You were over there. What were your takeaways from the Giants' offense in these 2 days?
Yeah, so again, so much was about the energy and the fights. I mean, when you really went back and looked at your notes yesterday, it was the offense was okay. I mean, it wasn't anything special. I mean, Nabers had, a great catch on them. Everyone's seen the highlight along the sideline. Asked him today, his final word was, "I'm always in." I mean, everything about that guy just screams wide receiver one. But you did see the frame by frames. It looked like he did get in. But if you take that play off the board, there really weren't any big plays. I wasn't watching 7-on-7. I know there were a few there. I mean, listen, I'm so out on 7-on-7 because Brian Daboll's they don't do it at all.
It's the only training camp to not have any 7-on-7.
And I love it because 7-on-7. I mean, I get it. It's good for timing and stuff. But it's people are oh, Dale Jones was 9 for 9 and 7-on-7. It's well, cool. There's no pass rush, and you got all the time in the world, whatever. But so in the 11-on-11 stuff, which again I think that's what really matters. I was watching the O-line, D-line 1-on-1s during 7-on-7. It was fine. There wasn't anything egregious. There was no picks. The started off the pass protection was a little shaky. That got better. There was one play where Jones's hand got hit, and that's because Illuminor got beat around the edge. So in practice, that guy in the Lions got chewed out, but in the game, it would have been a potentially disastrous play. But it was fine yesterday. Today, it was more just with Nabers, you see it every day, and not that you get numb to. He's a rookie. He's had 10 practices, but to see him do it against another team, which I know people say, "Oh, the Lions secondary is not unbelievable," but
it's better than the Giants.
Yeah, and whoever you're putting out there, he's doing it too, and so that's definitely the takeaway from today. Forget the fight. I mean, because there was another play where he just he beat Arnold on a fade, and everyone you know how it is when you're trying to film practice, and it's sometimes the gods are on your side and sometimes they're against you. He was lined up right on the sideline that all of us reporters were on, and you could just tell before the snap, this ball's going to him, and sure enough, it's a nice lofted fade ball, and he catches it for a touchdown. So that worked out well for the engagements. But no, I mean, that's what I take away. Like, he is going to be the featured piece of this offense. Not that that's anything that was a revelation in these last 2 days, but seeing him do it against another team, like, okay, yeah, it's not just because like Cordell Flott and Deontay Banks aren't very good or anything like that. It's like, no, this guy really is that good. He's going to be the focal point. And again, I haven't gone back through every rep today, but that's the thing. I walk out of here and sit in this nice van thinking about is just how dominant he was these 2 days.
With him, it's almost like kind of like, all right, let's see this in the games, because if any other receiver the last 5 years since Odell was gone had the training camp it would be like, this is the greatest. What the hell is going on? With him, it's just kind of just like easy. Like, it's easy to see how good he is.
And that's the difference, because Darius Slayton or Jalen Hyatt could catch a long ball, but everything Nabers does look easy. Like, he can beat guys deep. Anytime he runs the short route, he always catches it. Anything on the sideline, he gets his feet in. Like, he's doing warm-ups. He's done one-handed catches that look so natural. Like, that's the difference. Like, I've covered this team, like I said, for 9 years. There's very few guys that just stand out because they just like move different. And I know that's like such a weird thing to say, but like Odell just on the field just moved differently. Like, he didn't even look like he was going 100% and he was still running by guys, or like every catch was just easy. Like, Saquon, when he came in, like the way he moved, like guys didn't know what to do with him the first time in the open field. And so Nabers is clearly in that level of just athlete and just like raw football player. And then you're seeing like some of the finer points, like he is constantly getting open and making these catches again. That play yesterday, whereas along the sideline, it did look like he managed to get his second foot in. So I mean, he's just doing everything at such a high level right now.
You mentioned Hyatt and Slayton, and that's I think that's one of the more fascinating dynamics, because it's like the first time in a while where the Giants might have to put a solid player, less than 50% of the snaps. How's that going to play out? Because I still think Slayton is the better player than Hyatt, but they're giving every opportunity to Hyatt to win that job.
Yeah, and I think that's the way I'm looking at it too. They're giving Hyatt every opportunity, and I would say he hasn't done anything. Like, he's been fine. Like, he still catches deep balls. I think he's shown a little bit of progress in the intermediate stuff. He's never going to be, a move the chains type guy. We all know that. So I do think they're kind of hoping that they can kind of force feed him into that role and he grows into it. Now, that being said, if by week 4, he's got, 0 targets, 2 targets, like, I would not be shocked if the pendulum swings back. Like, hey, we know what Darius Slayton can do. He's going to be the guy getting 75% of the snaps. Because if you think about it, last year, Slayton was the number 1, and Hodgins was basically the guy who had to split with Hyatt. And it was probably more like 50-50. So I think it might start out that way with Slayton and Hyatt, and maybe in their hopes, Hyatt just takes it and runs with it, and he becomes the number 3 receiver, and Slayton, it's like, okay, hey, we got a good 4th guy.
And the biggest difference last year is with, Hyatt versus Hodgins versus Hyatt versus Slayton, is Slayton has been the guy that's created those explosives, where Hyatt just gave you nothing past, or Hodgins never gave you anything past 10 yards, where Hyatt gave you, that explosive threat. But now that you have Nabers as that one, it's like, what do they want out of their 2? And it all feels like Slayton's time here is probably dwindling down as they try and, make Hyatt that guy. Yeah. But we've said it all. As soon as they drafted Malik Nabers, they made a decision that somebody is probably going to be unhappy if everyone stays healthy.
Right. I mean, you go back to Slayton's entire offseason where, he was pretty open. He wasn't happy with his pay, wasn't happy with his role. And I think he made a calculated gamble that, listen, if this team trades up and drafts Drake May at number 3, I become super valuable and I have leverage here, and they're going to have to give me a raise, or I'm going to hold out and make life, difficult for them. As soon as they took Malik Nabers, that leverage went, and obviously he showed up like 2 weeks later. He couldn't do it maybe like right after the draft because that'd be too transparent. But I think he kind of knew, like, I got nothing here. But no, I still think like we've counted that guy out over and over. It's definitely a little bit different circumstance because the caliber of players, the investment in these players by this regime, that definitely works against him more than maybe just kind of being buried in previous years. But again, I'm not counting him out. That if like Hyatt comes out and it's just like it's all boom or bust again, that Slayton, still finds a way to, be one of the top 3 receivers on this team.
Yeah, I think that's because, Hyatt, 73% of his, we did our episode on him, 73% of his yards came in 3 games last year. Yeah. And it's just, and the thing that made me have the biggest difference was like, okay, Hyatt was a rookie, yes, but who was a better rookie, Darius Slayton or Jalen Hyatt? And I think Slayton, kind of cleared on that, so. Yeah, and I just think it's going to be fascinating.
Well, it's a thing, too, where it's like, obviously, there's packages. So if it's 1st and 10 and there's 2 receivers on the field, maybe that's when it's Slayton. But if it's, they're trying to throw the ball down the field and there's 3 receivers, then Hyatt's like, I don't think they're going to be locked into, Hyatt's the number 2 receiver. I think it'll depend on the situation. In the red zone, I think you'd probably want to see Slayton in there. It's 3rd and 6, I might want Slayton in there. So actually, I should take that back. 1st and 10, you might want Hyatt out there because that may be when you do a play fake and try and go up top. But for the sort of the more possession type stuff, I think I'd still prefer Slayton.
Let's move to the O-line.
A lot of things happening. We had Jermaine Eluemunor seemed like a solid 2 days, and you're going up against Aiden Hutchison. There's the Greg Van Roten situation, and are we a center, are we a guard, and then even John Michael Schmitz is dealing with the shoulder injury as well. So what is the thing that sticks out to you most, that most interests you about the offensive line? We'll talk about all three, but
I was going to say, where to begin?
Yeah.
I mean, what would this team be without like a mysterious offensive line injury that, like, Daboll said it's minor. Now we're like 8 straight practices.
Sure.
And Schmitz obviously won't play in the preseason game, so now you're hoping he'll be back. Sunday, I think, is the next practice after that.
Have you heard anything on the extent of that injury?
No, I got to dig more because I kind of, foolishly took them at their word. There's nothing major. Because it's weird. You guys have been out here long enough now. You see the rhythm of it. He's out here. Like, he's dressed for practice. He's not just on the side with the trainers. He kind of, like, does everything except just doesn't actually participate. But he, like, stays with the O-line, which is weird. Usually guys are rehabbing and they're running and they're with the trainers. So I don't really know what to make of that. So that is something in the next couple of days here. I have a little downtime. I'm going to have to do some digging because it is a little odd to me the way they're handling him.
And then the other thing is Greg Van Roten, they signed him. He hasn't taken a single snap at guard since he's been here, so I'm not even referring to him as a guard until that. But, like, is Stinney going to start over Van Roten when JMS comes back? I mean, I know the first unofficial depth chart doesn't mean much, but they did have him over them. And, like, where do you see what happening with Van Roten once JMS is back?
Yeah, so I mean, I put my unofficial depth chart out, and I put Van Roten as the number 2 center, and people are like, well, why is he not a guard? I'm like, he has to take one single snap at guard before I can put him there. Because listen, I think we all assume that's his eventual home, but I don't get it. I've kind of tried to press Daboll on it a few times, like, well, why not just give him some reps at guard? And I think his thought process, and this is just me trying to piece it together, is if JMS either can't come back, which, like, I don't think we're at that point, but we'll see. But if he gets hurt during the season, I think the plan would definitely be to move Van Roten to center, assuming he's at guard. So I think they're like, we want to, because remember they're doing with Runyon at first. I think that was also what it tells me is they really don't think very highly of Austin Schlottman, and they must feel like Aaron Stinney is our 6th best O lineman. So if we have a center injury, we're going to move. At first it was Runyon, now obviously it's Van Roten. But if you think Schmitz is going to be back, I don't understand why you can't give
some snaps.
Yes, like give Van Roten a series at center, a series at guard, because like I'm not that worried about like Aaron Stinney's ego or him missing a series, because again, you would think they signed Van Roten, at this point, more money, he's gonna be the starting right guard again, assuming Schmitz is ready to go, which is no reason to believe he won't be. So yeah, I don't understand that, because I get like you want to give him some center reps because you're gonna do it eventually. Schmitz is out, so you do it now, but I don't understand why you wouldn't also sprinkle him in at right guard at this point.
With Evan Neal, one, good job. You guys just blitzed the shit out of Daboll with Evan Neal the other day in that presser. Where does this end? Because it was everything pointed to him getting the first shot at training camp, and then he's on PUP, and it feels like we're never going to ever see him again.
It's funny. I was thinking at the start of camp that I was trying to find something I'd written, but I think it was actually on you guys' podcast.
Yeah, we
did
talked
it
about
after
that
minicamp. And what it played out is what I said is like, you don't ever want to root for injury, but it was kind of the best case scenario, because if they were going to start camp with a healthy Evan Neal at right tackle, how long were they going to wait to pull the plug? And you figured they would have to probably go into the season, because it's like, he's going to have 1 to 2 bad practices and you're going to pull the plug. So I said, I think it was on the pod with you guys, like if he's not ready, you can just kind of make the switch and don't hurt anybody's feelings. And now it's, we're so far entrenched, there's no way Eluemunor's going back to guard at this point. He obviously has strictly been a right tackle. They did sign Van Roten, like they're solidifying the guard spots. So, I mean, I think at this point, there's no indication Evan Neal's close at all. Whatever Joe Shane said, day 1 of camp.
Oh, wow. Look who it is.
Here, get in camera shot.
Yeah, come on. Come in.
I thought this was the trash guy telling us to move. Finally, because Justin...
From you, Duggan.
One thing I learned this year is never give anything Justin to give to somebody. Yeah. Congratulations on your Tony Award. And we'll see who wins it this year.
Yeah.
It's your 2024, not sure if you're a good person, but Good Giants Reporter, presented by Kadarius Tony Award, presented by Talking Giants.
I'm a very average person.
We were thinking next year we will like send the award to you, and that you can give it to next year's winner on the same day as the Good Guy Award. Yeah. So we'll figure it all out.
Wow, what an appearance!
See you, Ryan.
Congrats.
Wow, congratulations, Ryan Dunleavy. Wow.
You never know what you're going to get. Like, who is opening the door to the van?
You never know what you're going to get in the
I
van.
genuinely thought he's not, he's dressed in like a T-shirt and cargo. I thought he was the trash guy telling us to move the van. But so where do things end with Evan Neal?
So Evan Neal, I mean, I don't know. Like, it doesn't look like he's close. Like, at this point, do they just like let him like idle on PUP into the season? I don't know, because it just gets awkward now when he comes back. Let's say he comes back in 3 weeks and there's like 2 weeks for the opener. Where does he even take reps? Like, I mean, you're going to give him like token reps with the starters? Like, again, it seemed like they've very much moved on. So my prediction, again, like if you're talking over-unders, like snaps for Evan Neal this year, if everyone stays healthy, I'm taking the under on 1. Like, I just don't see, like, but again, someone I'm sure will get hurt.
Yeah.
But, like, he just does not fit in their plans at all. So if everyone stays healthy, I don't see how you kind of shoehorn him back in there, because he's missed so much time now, let alone being injured. I mean, this was supposed to be a big offseason to improve, to get better, and obviously he hasn't had any opportunity to do that.
Now, here's the $1 million question.
First rounders always carry some value. Is there any thought of them like, all right, let's just get what we can while we can?
I think right now is not the time to do that, though, because he's been injured. I think next offseason, if maybe that's the time, maybe switch him to guard, whatever, and then it's like, okay, yeah, cut day or whatever before the draft. One of those kind of inflection points. Hey, we'll do a 6th and 7th round pick swap, whatever, or we'll get you a 7th round pick, whatever it is. Yeah, I think that could happen then. I don't see it happening now. I think it's just if you're another team, like he's been hurt for so long, I think it would be hard to pull off a trade right now.
Now, the $1 million question that nobody's asking, because nobody should be asking it, because it's kind of a joke question, but it just came to my head. Who would they view as the swing tackle? Josh Azudu or Evan Neal?
Oh my God,
that's a little scary, right?
We could move on.
No, I mean it's the swing tackle thing is scary. But yeah, if he's back and healthy, I would think he still hopefully gives you more than Azudu a tackle. Tyree Phillips still looming out there. That
he should come back.
Yeah, if he comes back and say he's not ready until like week 1 and you sign him then and. You just can work him back in and hopefully you don't have an injury and tackle in the first couple of weeks. But yeah, no, that's a position that is definitely a question mark.
That's where it gets a little bit more awkward with Neal. Now I don't think it's awkward because he's been hurt and also he's been bad. And I think everybody kind of has to know that. But if you're choosing to play Tyree Phillips over Evan Neal, that is where I think it could get yeesh awkward. Bobby Skinner.
All I have is the final question. If you don't have anything else. We
haven't even talked any defense. Wow.
Well, he wasn't watching the defense.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay, then we don't have to worry about it. Here's my question that I like asking every beat reporter. What is something that you're thinking about, you're writing about, you're talking about that not a lot of people are thinking about, writing about, or talking about?
It's funny. I heard when Dunleavy was on, you asked that question, and now just seeing him, I don't know if I want to give away what I'm working on for my competitors who are obviously avid listeners. No, I don't know. What am I thinking about that? No one
Brian Daboll, competitive advantage. You coming on the pond? It's the same thing if we're filming at practice.
Exactly. No, yeah, I don't know, like anything crazy outside the box, but I think Daboll as the play caller. Obviously, we've written about it and we've talked about it, but I think that's something before week 1 that I want to dive a little more into because it looks different. The offense looks different. They're throwing it downfield. Players have kind of made allusions to that. So yeah, probably maybe dive a little deeper on that because I think we all just kind of like accepted, okay, Daboll's a play caller, but like, what does that mean? Because on the surface, it's like it's still the same playbook. He was here last year. It's not like it's like he's coming into the situation, but it still does seem like when you talk to players that he's putting his imprint on things and it is different. So I guess maybe diving deeper onto that. So no one on the beat better steal that story from me. I'm going to blame you for twisting my arm.
Well, let me ask you this because how's Mike Kafka? Like, is he happy?
How's he doing?
Is he aggravated? Is he involved? Like, what's like we just.
It's fun
it's
watching
like where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? Like I don't even notice him on the practice field.
No, it's like sometimes like does he even have a headset on? No, I don't know. Listen, it was an awkward situation. I know it was a big topic obviously early in the offseason, and then it's like, oh no, everything's fine. How could it be fine? I mean, this guy had an opportunity to go be the play caller in Seattle for an organization he had just interviewed with, a defensive head coach. He would have been running the show, and instead they blocked that interview. He comes back here. And now again, what is his role? Because Daboll obviously is the play caller. Shea Tierney's with the quarterbacks. He's even got a promotion in his type was he passing game coordinator. Yeah. So when you see even on behind the play, when the coaches are on the field, the tight ends coach with the tight ends, Tierney's with the quarterbacks, the O-line coach with the O-line, and Kafka's kind of just standing there. It's like he's like
sometimes they'll do their QB coach meeting, like it'll be Daboll, Tierney, and the QBs, and you're like, where is Kafka? Yeah, he should be in this little huddle they have right here.
He honestly, kind of feels like an advisor. It's like he's just, I assume during the week he's got ideas and stuff, but no, he's so scaled back. Like, I mean, my not very bold prediction is one way or another this will be Mike Kafka's last year with the Giants. I just can't see any way that this marriage continues. I think he was a victim of circumstance. If they don't fire McGahee and have the whole Wink thing, it's one thing to let one coordinator leave for a lateral move. You can't have all 3 coordinators leave for different reasons. So he got stuck and got the nice promotion. I'm sure a little pay bump. But
the assistant to the head coach.
It's just there's no way this is good for his career development, Because if the offense is bad again this year, then obviously that doesn't help him. But if it's good, everyone's just like, oh, it's because of Daboll. So how does this help make Kafka the situation? It doesn't, but he's kind of being the good soldier. He's not someone who's going to rock the boat. I think we know that much. And he's just kind of biding his time, I would think, and he'll be probably the Chiefs quarterbacks coach in a year.
Yeah. What is your record prediction for the 2024 New York Giants?
Ooh.
I feel like everybody's been wrong both years that we've done this segment, good and bad.
I think I'm going to say wrong this year. I'm like, wow, that's bold for you to say they're already wrong.
Everybody is wrong this year.
Yeah, no, I know 2 years ago I said 5 wins, so very wrong. Last year I said 8, I want to say, and obviously didn't get there. So I'm going to go back to my pessimistic ways. I will say all off season I was saying 7 and 10, and I've scaled back to 6 and 11. I just started thinking about this defense. I think people have a weird level of optimism in the defense. I think that like if you look at the defense last year, which wasn't very good, and the defense this year, where have they upgraded aside from Brian Burns? And like that's a big upgrade, important upgrade. Like, he didn't single-handedly turn Carolina into an amazing defense, and he had some good players around him there. But, I mean, the defensive line, no Leo, no A'Shaun Robinson. The secondary,
McKinney.
no McKinney, no Adoree'. I mean, like, it scares me. And, people are kind of like, oh, the pass rush. Like, they had some good pass rushers in Tennessee, and the pass defense was terrible.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know. I'm like, that's the part that scares me, because I think you think of the way they won. The reason I'm kind of bullish on Daboll, I think everyone is they were able to win with Tommy DeVito 3 games. Mm-hmm. The defense was a huge part of those wins, obviously, and it was against bad teams and bad offenses. But still, I'm not quite sure that this defense is going to be able to replicate what they got in those games. And I don't know. I don't see it. I think Nabers, is going to be amazing.
The secondary scares the shit out of everyone.
Yeah, but I don't think that gets enough attention. I'll have fans say, "Oh, they're going to play a lot of zone." It's like as if that matters, and they're playing zone out here and getting beat deep all the time. It's not like some prevent defense that never gives up big plays. But yeah, I mean, offensively, I think Nabers is going to be awesome. But I mean, like a lot of bad teams have 1,200-yard receivers, and I think that could be the case here. I mean, again, pretty much a lot comes down to the quarterback. I think the O-line should be better. But I'd ask you the same question on the offense. I mean, the O-line should be better. Wide receiver should be better. Running back, you lost Saquon. Tight end, you lost Waller. Like, quarterback's the same. Like, I don't see how this team really drastically improved in any way, unless Nabers and Burns are just such, like, force multipliers. But I think they lost more than people acknowledge. So, yeah, I'm going to be the cynic that I am and go 6 and 11, and I'm sure that, people will be happy to throw it in my face if I'm wrong.
I think Dunleavy went 5.
Ooh.
Art and Jordan both went 7, I think. I can't remember.
Sounds right.
So
I think Art wanted to go 8, but then he's like, oh, well, I'll just bring it back down to 7. So Art, but I think Jordan was a confident 7, and then Art was an optimistic 7.
Yeah, I was 7, and then I don't know, the secondary, it scares me. It scares me a lot.
They've allowed they allowed a lot of big plays through the first 2 days. And also they've allowed a lot of open receivers through the early part of camp, even though they weren't able.
I'm so excited for whatever corner they get off waivers already. So, all right, that's an interview. Thank you again, Dan, for jumping on. Everyone go subscribe to The Athletic. You'll be glad you did. And we'll see you the next time on The Van.
Sounds good. Thanks.
All right. Thank you to Dan Duggan of The Athletic for visiting us in the van. How do you like that verb? It's different than coming. This episode is brought to you by Captain Morgan, and so was that van interview. Did you know that Captain Morgan is the official spice rum of the NFL? And even more important than them being the official spice rum of the NFL, they're the official spice rum of Talkin' Giants and the Talkin' Giants L16 tailgate. I know a lot of people are asking about tailgates this year. I do not have a ton of information on that yet. I messaged our company today and asked them if we can have meetings on it, because I want to start to sell tickets so you can come over and drink some Captain Morgan with us. When it gets bland, try Captain Morgan Original Spice Rum. It's delicious and crisp and perfect for game day with friends. Spice it up. I'm saying on the stream, you know what? You get home from work on Thursday, because a lot of people work. You're going to turn on Fox. Oh my God, I almost caught it. I almost caught the ball during an ad read.
You're distracting them.
Yeah, oh my God, I'm distracting them. They're distracting me. I'm reading an ad read about Captain Morgan. Get home from work on Thursday, watch the Giants preseason game, and crack open some Captain Morgan. Visit CaptainMorgan.com to find Captain near you. Please drink responsibly. Captain Morgan, original spice rum, 35% alcohol by volume. Captain Morgan Rum Company in New York, New York. Bobby Skinner, you'll be glad you did, and so will you, Jack Doyle.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Maybe we change well, you'll be glad you did till hell yeah.
Nope, I don't like that.
Hell yeah.
Can never change it.
All right.
5 players to watch for in the preseason.
Everyone asked for us to make You'll Be Glad You Did shirts, but would anyone actually buy the You'll Be Glad You Did shirts?
Even if 3 people did, I think it's worth it.
All right. You'll be glad you did. All right. So this is one of my favorite segments of the year. I have like 15 different things we do. That's like my favorite of the year. First preseason game are 5 players to watch. So I'm going into this all with the assumption that starters aren't going to play, especially after the first 2 joint practices being so intense. So our 5 players to watch for each of us going into this preseason game. So, giving you guys to focus in on and reasons to watch. Don't look at my list.
Former Captain Morgan wall.
Yep.
That actually does work, by the way.
Build that Captain Morgan wall.
Oh, there you
5
go.
players. My number 1. I know this one is like
Is Borders on your list?
A little. No. Yeah, I should just put Breon Borders because
Borders
the
closed.
Captain Morgan border.
Borders closed.
All right, we need to relax. Let's relax. Get your composure together. My first one's a little easy, but it's Tyler Nubin, right? And it's not just always our second round pick safety, but we haven't seen him get much from him in camp, right? Like he had a pass breakup on day 2 of the joints, but he's only getting second team snaps, and he missed 5 practices, and then he came back for 2 practices and split snaps with the second team. But we haven't seen him get a single first team snap. I mean, I think he's the only rookie. Him and Darius Moasa are the only rookies to not get a first team snap, right? And Moasa is viewed as a special teams player. I want to see him go out there. And preseason is a time to show off what he does. He's playing against lesser QBs, so read the eyes and make plays. I'm not saying, go out, you have to get an interception, but he should get his hands on footballs or dislodge footballs from wide receivers. So Tyler Newman's my number 1 guy to watch because of how important he is and how little we've gotten to see from him in training camp.
Yeah, force the conversation. That's my main thing with Tyler Nubin is I think he should.
I think he should start, but they're not really giving that opportunity right now.
But I think he should be one of the best players on the field if he's out there playing against backups and force the conversation. Make it a conversation between you and Dane Belton because as of right now, it's not. He's only been back for a week, and we did see even Drew Phillips get a grace period of a week of him not playing, and then he played after the first week. So Nubin's been back for a week, but would love to see him go out there and ball in the preseason, especially since we're not going to see him practice after today. Bobby Skinner, who was my number 1? Should I tell you?
Yeah, just tell me. I don't feel like guessing.
It's Turbo Miller. It's Dante Turbo Miller.
Number
1. I think he's going to make the roster as RB3. And Eric Gray seems to be... Now, he's also hurt. He's also concussed, apparently. Cheap shot by the Lions.
Oh, shit. Gray's not going to play.
Right.
All right, you talk while I change my number 3.
So, even with the Gray injury, before that, Gray has been kind of phased out. It just doesn't feel like he's a part of things, or even when he is, he just doesn't pop. There's still questions about him as a pass blocker. I think there's a chance, and I'm going to even say there's a good chance that Turbo Miller makes this roster as RB3 because he's popped. The 40 speed that we talked about over the spring, and this guy hasn't played football, but he's fast. It's game fast. It's game speed fast. So Turbo Miller has an opportunity to go out there and make some big plays, whether it's as a receiver, but especially as a running back and as a runner. Go out there and make some plays and make that RB3 conversation a tough one for the Giants that drafted Eric Gray.
Yeah, and so Eric Gray was going to be my number 3. He's not because he's probably not going to play at this point. But part of it was because Turbo Miller is he looks good, right? In my notes is Dante Miller has looked really good as an explosive back, and Tracy is probably their RB2 with his receiving value. For Gray, I was I want to see you block. When you are in the field, I'm hoping it's a pass play to see you block, not to run the ball. Because Turbo Miller, I do think is actually going to make a legit run at a roster spot here. So that's a good one. My number 2 is Deontay Johnson. I mean, he's been splitting first team reps with Micah McFadden at linebacker. He is someone that we did like his film out of Toledo. I always go back to that Ohio State game, right? Going up against the best competition. He showed up to play that day. And he plays legit linebacker, right? We're not talking about a guy who in college just shot gaps and did stuff that doesn't always translate. Like he stacked and shed. He got to his coverage drops. He read quarterback's eyes. So I really like Deontay Johnson. I would love for him to earn playing time this year. I'd be really excited about that. So Deontay Johnson, the 2000, second year undrafted free agent out of Toledo linebacker. You are my number 2 guy to watch because he's literally been splitting reps with Micah McFadden at linebacker too, and that's a position where guys get hurt often, and you're gonna need to play even if you are a backup.
He's my number 5, and it's because I knew that you were going to talk about him and you were going to put him up there. I think Carter Coughlin will not play. He was not suited up today,
and Carter's not even really.
No, but let me finish. I'll finish the thought process. Is Micah McFadden also may not play either because is he struggling with something?
So he's been on a pitch count. Now McFadden is viewed as a starter, so he may not play in the first place.
Who are the linebackers that are left? Matthew Adams, Muasu, Deontay Johnson. Who else after that?
Isaiah Simmons technically.
So Deontay Johnson, the last couple days, I've seen him get first team reps, second team reps, and third team reps. He's going to play possibly for the whole game. Possibly.
Yeah, he's gonna get Darian Beavers. Yeah, he's gonna play. He's gonna play a lot regardless.
I think he's gonna play for at least a half because they want to see.
Oh, absolutely.
They want to see what they got.
I think he plays the entire first half.
Okay,
and probably even some in the second half, like you said. So he's gonna play a lot.
My number 2 is Elijah Chapman.
Chapman is my number 5.
Okay, he is pushing to make the roster.
Rookie minicamp invite, defensive tackle at SMU, signed to the roster.
He is small, but he is fast.
He's looked really good.
He can bend.
Even versus the Lions.
He's strong. I mean, he's small, so lower man wins. And he flashes. And it's not just as a pass rusher where he flashes in 1v1s. It's also, it's against the run too. He wins. He wins, man. That's what Elijah Chapman does. And I think, again, he's been doing it against second stringers and even some first stringers. So I'm expecting Elijah Chapman to have a really fun preseason and push to make the roster because Jordan Phillips has disappeared and fallen off the face of the earth, and it'll become a numbers game of how many interior defensive linemen that they want to carry. So Elijah Chapman's my number 2.
Yeah, I put Chapman 5 just because I think he's going to have a great preseason. But I just think he probably doesn't have much of a path to playing year 1. But yeah, I think he's going to have a great position. But a defensive tackle depth chart is wide open. And he's going to make it difficult for them to.
I wonder if they don't play him, Bobby. If they don't play him a lot in the preseason because they do want to stash him in the practice.
I don't think it. I don't.
You're not looking at it that deep?
No. So my number 3 was going to be Eric Gray, but it's not. So everyone's bumping up. One's Theo Johnson. And, obviously I want to see the athleticism, and make plays, right? But anytime the Giants bring in a rookie tight end, I think they will make my 5 guys to watch list, not because of the receiving stuff. I want to see how you hold up versus NFL blockers.
Yep.
Or NFL defensive players as a blocker, right? It's always a hard jump to go from college to NFL blocking ends, right? So Daniel Bellinger was on my list a couple years ago as a blocker, exactly I'm going to watch. So I put Theo Johnson out there. Obviously, I want to see fucking 100 yards and go crazy about that. But when I'm going back and watching film, I'm going to be zeroing in on how does he hold up as a blocker because that's how he can get a more consistent role as a rookie.
Fair. All right, my number 3. You want your receiver that may not make some fun plays like a John Giles, but you want your receiver that's going to get a lot of catches and is going to move the chains and maybe the difference between winning and losing a football game in the second half. That wide receiver. Oh no.
If this is who I think it is, I don't think he practiced today.
Dennis Houston?
Yeah, Dennis Houston didn't practice today.
Oh shit!
I know.
I may have to pivot. I have a backup ready.
But let's just say we both are excited about Dennis Houston, even though he's not really a roster candidate. But so hit us with your pivot.
No, my pivot.
He had dealing with a hand injury. He was out. He didn't practice.
He may play. Hand.
Well, give us your pivot. I had the pivot one. You pivot.
All right, I'll pivot, and I'll give you Timmy Horn, who's another interior defensive lineman.
Okay, I like it.
It was the UFL signing, right?
No, he was with the Falcons. He's played in the NFL. He played with the Falcons for a little while.
But a guy that's also flashed, and he has more NFL size. He has more NFL strength than Elijah Chapman does. A guy that is going to rely on more strength. So Timmy Horn, again, another guy that has risen above. It seems like everybody's risen above the depth chart with Jordan Phillips. But while Ryder Anderson is a little bit lighter, a guy like Timmy Horn could be a little bit heavier and provide a little bit more stability there. Fascinated to see how they're going to utilize these interior defensive linemen during this training camp. And Timmy Horn is another guy that's flashed like Chapman.
Yeah. All right, so my number 4 was Elijah Chapman. You already did him. Is your number 4 someone that we've already talked about?
No. My last guy that we have not talked about is Alex Johnson.
Who was your number 4?
I went out of order.
All right, so I'll just do my last one. Jake Kubis, he's the fill-in for Eric Gray, another UDFA out of North Dakota State. On the offensive lineman. I mean, this is how Nick Gates got noticed in preseason, right? As a UDFA, going out there playing well, playing better than Chad Wheeler, and didn't just earn a roster spot, but like he was getting 6 offensive lineman snaps in week 1 of 2019. But also just because the Giants' offensive line depth spot, like either Greg Van Roten or Stinney is one of the backup guards, right? But after that, let's look at the depth after whoever is the backup of Stinney and the center Van Roten. Azudu is viewed as basically only he's an offensive tackle.
Right.
Like if we had no prior knowledge and we just watched these practices, we'd be like, Azudu's an offensive tackle, but they weirdly had him practice like a few snaps at guard one day. Neal is on PUP and he's the offensive tackle. They don't like their backup centers because when JMS has been out, they've put in their backup guard there.
Yeah.
And then I don't like Marcus McKeithen. I don't think they like Marcus McKeithen because Kubis has been ahead of him on the depth chart. I mean, this is a guy who's probably going to make the roster at this point. So, like, if he plays well, doesn't mean he's going to earn playing time, but he can solidify him a roster spot. If he looks awful, then they're looking at outside sources or giving someone else on the team that spot over him. So Jake Kubis, I think he actually, out of all these guys, probably has the most to lose in this preseason.
Yeah, I regret not putting Jake Kubis here. The last guy that I put is Alex Johnson, UCLA defensive back that has since transitioned to safety during this Giants camp. It's going to be hard for him to stand out as a safety, but I just think he's been really good and he's handled that transition well. But yeah, Jake Kubis, I'm excited to see because he's had a really good camp. Yeah,
Alex Johnson. Did we? I wish we would have said we could see a move of him to safety in our defensive UDFA review. We didn't. All right, that's an episode. So we'll be back with player profile again tomorrow, and then a recap of the Lions game. We'll be live streaming the Lions game as well. So we will see you then. And thank you for all the support for training camp because we've kind of ended it. So until then, let's go Big Blue.